The introduction of your literature review should explain why the review is needed and what it will focus on. Start by telling the reader what your research topic is and why it is important. For example, if your topic is about mental health in teenagers, explain briefly why this issue matters today. Next, state the goal of the review, whether you want to understand past research, find a gap in the literature, or build a foundation for your own study. Then, clearly define the scope of the review, what kind of studies you will include, like only peer-reviewed journal articles, what time frame, like research from 2010 to 2024, and what population or region, like adolescents in the US. End the introduction by telling the reader how the review will be organized, usually by themes or chronology. This helps guide the reader and sets up your structure. This is the example you are seeing of a literature review. In the first introduction paragraph, you can see that it includes a brief introduction, explains why the topic is important, and highlights the urgency of the issue. Then, it includes the purpose of the review, where it talks about its aim and goals. After that, it discusses the scope of the review, such as the timeline of the articles that this literature review is going to include, the types of studies, and how the review is going to be arranged, either thematically or chronologically. The thematic structure is the most commonly used format for literature reviews. Instead of summarizing each article one by one, this structure groups studies into categories or themes based on what they are about. This is helpful because it allows you to compare and connect different studies more clearly. Below is how you can break it down using 5 useful themes. Theme 1, Definition and Background. In this section, explain how researchers define the main topic or concept of your review. This is especially useful when your topic could have different meanings in different fields. For example, if your topic is resilience, explain how psychologists, educators, and social workers each define it. Also include historical background or how the idea has changed over time. Mention key studies or authors who first wrote about it or helped shape the way people understand it today. This theme helps readers understand what the topic means in the context of your review and prepares them for the rest of the discussion. In this example, the first theme is about the definition and background. Here, it discusses the topic by comparing different researchers' findings and earlier research work results. Then, it talks about how ideas have changed over time by comparing those findings. It is important to analyze the topic using different researchers' findings in order to understand the topic from various perspectives. Theme 2, Causes or Factors. This theme covers the main causes, risk factors, or contributors to the issue or phenomenon you are reviewing. Organize the studies by different types of causes. For example, if you are reviewing literature about childhood obesity, you might group the causes into categories such as biological factors, like genetics, social influences, like family eating habits, and environmental factors, like access to parks or healthy food. Describe what different authors say about these causes. Point out any disagreements or patterns in the research. This part is very important because it shows what is believed to lead to the problem or issue. In this example, you can also see that it includes different researchers' results about the causes by comparing each cause. It highlights what different researchers found about the causes, reasons, and factors, and then compares those findings. Theme 3, Effects or Outcomes. In this section, explain the consequences or outcomes that are linked to the issue you're studying. These might be short-term or long-term. For example, if your topic is the impact of social media use, the outcomes could include mental health effects, changes in attention span, or social isolation. Mention the different studies that discuss these outcomes and note whether their findings are similar or different. Explain what the research says about how serious or widespread the effects are. This helps show why your topic matters and what is at stake. This literature review example also includes the impacts that result from those causes. It analyzes various results related to the effects of the issue, what different researchers found about the effects, what types of evidence they discovered, and how those pieces of evidence compare with each other. Theme 4, Interventions or Solutions. Here, focus on the programs, treatments, or strategies that researchers have studied to fix or reduce the problem. These solutions could be medical treatments, school-based programs, government policies, or community-based interventions. For example, if the topic is bullying in schools, describe what studies say about anti-bullying programs, teacher training, or peer support systems. Discuss which solutions work best, which are less effective, and why. Also mention if some studies show mixed or negative results. This theme helps highlight what has already been tried and how successful those efforts were. In this example, various researchers' arguments are again presented as they propose different solutions. It even includes arguments that challenge those claims, followed by how other researchers respond with alternative claims. Overall, it attempts to compare studies from every possible perspective, gaps, or debates. This is one of the most important themes. In this part, identify the areas where research is missing or where scholars disagree. For example, if studies give different results on whether online learning helps students, mention that. Or if no study has looked at your topic in a specific country or age group, point that out as a gap. This section gives strong support for your own research because it shows that more work needs to be done. It also helps explain why your study can make a useful contribution to the field. We can identify gaps in previous research by using different methods. For example, if previous research or studies missed a particular focus or concentrated too much on one subject while ignoring another, that creates a gap. There can also be gaps in results, such as findings that remain unproven in the long term. In addition, there may be gaps in the methodology. Critical analysis. No matter how your review is organized, you must go beyond just summarizing studies. For each theme or time period, you should include a critical analysis. Start by comparing and contrasting the results of different studies. Are their findings the same or different? If they disagree, what might explain that? Next, highlight strengths and weaknesses. For example, one study may have a large sample size, a strength, while another may rely only on surveys, a weakness. Also, pay attention to methods. Do some studies use interviews while others use experiments? That affects how we interpret the results. Lastly, try to spot patterns, gaps, or debates in the research. These critical points show that you're not just repeating what others said, you are analyzing the quality and usefulness of their work. In the critical analysis section, you can see that it first summarizes the previous studies, which are written using a thematic approach. It focuses on how the results of different studies are related to one another or how they differ. For instance, the methodologies used in the studies may differ. Then, it emphasizes each study's methodology and limitations. For example, some studies may intentionally overlook certain regions or populations, which becomes a limitation. On the other hand, some studies may use rich data, which becomes a strength. Synthesis. After analyzing the literature in parts, it's important to put everything together in a synthesis. This means explaining how the studies connect to each other and what picture they form as a group. Do they support each other or show different views? Show how the research overall helps answer your main research question or helps you build your theoretical framework. You should also explain what you have learned from reviewing the literature, your own informed view. For example, you might say, although most studies agree that physical activity helps reduce anxiety in teenagers, few have tested this in school settings. This shows that you understand the research and have found an opening for your own study. Here, we are providing a complete picture of all the reviewed studies by explaining how they relate to one another and where they agree. However, it also shows that some gaps still remain. Then, it mentions those gaps. When to use chronological structure. First, we talk about structuring literature review by using thematic sections. Instead of using themes, sometimes it makes more sense to organize your review chronologically, especially when the topic has clearly changed over time. For example, if your topic is the use of technology in education, you can divide the review into time periods such as before 2000, 2000 to 2010, and 2011, present. In each section, describe how thinking or methods changed. For example, early studies may have focused on desktop computers, while later ones looked at mobile apps and online learning platforms. Use this format if your topic has evolved, or if your goal is to show how understanding has progressed. But avoid this method if the research doesn't show major changes over time. Thematic is better in those cases, if you want how to structure a chronological order literature review. Let me know in comments. Please subscribe to channel for more educational research videos.